Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Feminist Institute for Alive in the Archive. I'm Kathy Landy, founder of the Feminist Institute, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to collecting, digitizing, and sharing the rich history of feminist art, humanity, politics, and business, and making our archive globally accessible for free. Today, we are honored to welcome the original on my own innovator of comfortable yet fabulously chic leisure fashion, exactly what and who we need right now and always, the invincible Norma Kamali.
Hi, thank you.
I had at page 34 of your book, your new book, I Am Invincible, you write, our self-worth and accomplishments define who we are. And then it is important for women to understand our value. So let's use these statements as a springboard for our questions. Do you see personal archiving as a feminist act?
Well, personal archiving for me can be done in lots of different ways. Sometimes archiving can be done through other people, where you inject your experience in the feminist experience through other women and share in that way. But I think keeping a log and keeping the history of the evolution of women is really, really informative and helpful for generations to come. It's really important for us to know the power we're developing and that we have now and how we got here. It's really something not to forget.
Absolutely. I mean, has your archival process of preserving your legacy changed as you navigated different spaces in your career?
Well, one of the things I did when I turned 50, which is a very big sort of marking point in our lives, in women's lives, is we all go through this period at 50 where you take a look at what's going on in your life and you know what you don't want anymore. And then you look at what you would like. And then there's this great opportunity to reinvent yourself. My reinvention was very important for me. And that was to get rid of everything, including my archives of clothing, of every sample I ever made, my history as a designer. Everything to me had to go so that I could look forward and see the opportunity ahead with a new lens. And I have become a minimalist as a result. And so the archiving in the physical sense is sort of transformed into storytelling and exchanging conversation like this, and also my book.
And are you talking about the what comes around goes around archive, where you let go some of the things that were sitting in?
Monumental amounts of it. That was one segment. I had 20,000 original samples. I had antiques. I had an apartment that I restored that was part of the Woolworth estate. I had a collection of very important memorabilia of New York City. I'm born and raised in New York, so I have a great affection for New York, and I donated that to the city of New York. I had collections of things that were really extraordinary and beautiful, but I realized that I needed to share them. They needed to go out. They needed not to be sort of possessions that were owning me. I was worried about them. I didn't want anything to happen to them. And I realized I needed a blank slate so I could always be creative going forward. And I didn't want my possessions to own me. I wanted a sense of freedom. And there's nothing can take the place of the memory of a feminist experience or a life experience. And the storytelling of those experiences to me is much more valuable than pieces that you own and treasure. There's a period of time where you may have a book that you don't read anymore. You read it, it gave you pleasure. Well, now maybe give it to somebody else. Maybe give it to a student that might get something out of it. Pass on some of these things so that you're sharing experiences you had even in these pleasurable possessions.
So do you think that archiving in the fashion industry differs from other industries? And do you think that there's more emphasis on, say, the preservation of a male designer's work than there is on women's?
I think preservation of designs is a very big part of the fashion industry. And I have to be honest, my experiences in fashion, as a woman who owns her own business, who happens to be a designer, which is like a double dingbat threat. Not only do you think you're a woman, you're a dingbat, but if you're a designer and a woman, oh my God, a real cuckoo bird dingbat. And so having to deal with that in all of my business conversations and all of my strategic conversations was definitely challenging. And even today, I will say, I get my occasional kind of, are you kidding me conversations. But from the design perspective, I can't say I was treated differently because of being a woman or anything that had to do with gender. I think power, on the other hand, is often in the hands and has often been in the hands of men. So there have been preferences that way, where a designer has more money, more influence, more influence, basically. And so sometimes I felt that if I could place ads in every magazine, I could get editorial as much as somebody else. But that, so what? But there have also been incredible men who have supported me and did everything they could to make sure that I got an equal kind of share of the pie when it came to opportunities. So I don't have an issue in that area, but in the business negotiating areas, I will tell you a quick story. I was at a negotiation that had to do with a contract that I had, and the contract had been broken. And there were 6 people in the meeting, and all were men and me. And there was a real debate going back and forth, especially with one guy. And in the end, I won the debate and it was decided in my favor. And it was a big decision. It was a very important decision. And as we're walking out of the room, this guy decides to stay behind. And I was the last one out, and come behind me. And he whispers in my ear and says, "Good job." And he pats me on the butt. I wanted to scream. But I knew I don't want to undo what I just did. I don't want to undo it. I am going to get past this. I'm going to just keep walking. I'm going to ignore what happened. And those types of situations have happened to so many women through so many decades of interacting with men in an environment where they felt, and maybe not so much today, where they felt they could get away with that. And he knew I would not carry on. And if I did, then it would work in his favor. So it's not a big deal. The story I just told you is not a big deal. But the number of times stories like that happened is a big deal.
On page 235 of your book, I need to share this quote because it's so powerful. And it speaks to our mission here at the Feminist Institute. And here's the quote: "Be a great example for all the women around you. I think that all the women who have inspired me and how valuable their examples have been in how I move through my life. It is important to do the same for the women following you." Norma, I love that you know what it means to be responsible for legacy. How would you advise the next generation to build on what you've accomplished?
Well, I think the power of confidence and knowledge and integrity, and proving that women with power can be different than men with power. And we have to keep that in our minds, that we stay true to the feminine spirit, which is nurturing and loving and powerful, but that we never take advantage of anybody. We only lift people up.
That's great. Thank you for that. And this is where we'll end with another quote from your book. And I advise everyone to go out and buy this. This is just, we all need to live like this.
Thank you.
Stay inspired, be curious, learn something new every day, ask questions, open your mind to new ideas. The result is an ever evolving, exciting you. You've lived your life like this, Norma, from your first job at Northwest Orient Airlines to being the very first designer to make activewear silhouettes and fabrics for fashion and turning that into a thriving business. That is all you now, the power of you. Thank you, Norma, for being that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And if I may paraphrase the title of your book, "We are invincible."
Okay, that's good.
That's it.
That's good. Everybody needs to create their own mantra. That one on the cover is mine, and what I developed it when I was looking for my own source of inspiration. So I think it's good if we all make an "I am invincible" mantra for ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.